The Bible has a lot to say about provision, and almost none of it sounds like hustle. And I want to talk about this today because I mentioned yesterday about hustle or hustle culture and just how I don't believe it's biblical, and our culture is very much a hustle culture. And this just means that we do more. We strive for things. We put our kids in many activities. We give ourselves no margin in our life. In almost any area, and I just think this is very detrimental to our culture because the Lord says so. In the Bible, it talks a lot about peace and rest and margin and Sabbath. God rested on Sabbath not because he was tired, but because he wanted to model what it looked like for us to rest, because we need it. We need it as humans. We need intentional time of nothingness, quite honestly. And I know in our culture this is very countercultural because we don't like to be bored. We don't like to stop. We feel like we need to strive for the next thing and keep pressing. But oftentimes it's the stillness and the rest that we're missing. I just think of the verse in Psalms, I think it's Psalms 4, it talks about, in peace I will both lie down and sleep. And I like that it talks both about lying down and sleep, because I don't know about you, but oftentimes I will lie down and the sleep won't come because my mind's busy, or I'm thinking about the next thing that needs to get done, or what the day's going to look like tomorrow. But it talks about lying down and sleeping, just full rest of body, mind, and soul. I also think a lot of times when it comes to provision, we think we need to strive, we think we need to work more hours, we need to press harder, when a lot of times the Lord just asks us to ask him. When we sit intentionally and spend time with him and asking what he has for us, or how he desires to provide for us, and that takes the striving out, that takes the feeling like we need to do it of our own power, of our own will, and asking the Lord, seeking him, asking him what the next step is. So I'm trying to be really intentional in my business, my online business, and before I start, I only put in 2 hours a day, probably on average. Sometimes it's 15 minutes and sometimes it's 3 hours, but I really want to be intentional of taking the time before I get started to pray what the Lord has for me this day, what he wants to speak through me, because if you've been following me, my heart is for mamas. My heart is for mamas who want to help provide for their family, to help come alongside their husbands, to model that Proverbs 31 woman, but not at the risk of sacrificing time with their babies or motherhood, quite frankly. So if this stirs something in your heart and you just want to know how, as a mom, you can help provide for your family, how you can build something from home, very simply, I have a free course for mamas. It's a mini course. It's probably a half-hour max. That's for mamas, that talks about everything digital marketing, the different options, how to get started, how to build this realistically in the trenches of motherhood, and how not to sacrifice your time, your peace, your margin, but to build within that. So if you are curious about it, the course is linked in my bio. Otherwise, comment peace, and I would love to send that over to you.